YouTube friends. We wanted to bring you another session of couch time, but it is too nice outside to be inside to do that. So we are outside having couch time on the tractor. So we've been on the property now a year. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like it does. Most of the time it does not feel like it's been a year to me.
Yeah.
I guess, but we wanted to kind of share our story with a lot of our new subscribers that may have not kind of followed us from the beginning. So we wanted to kind of share our story and then kind of bring you up to date on what we have planned for the future.
Yep.
So it was about mid-March a year ago. Steve came home from school and said school is shutting down, and about that same time the state shut down as well.
Yeah, it all happened at the same time.
About the same time.
The state gave a deadline for all schools to shut down, and my school just shut down like a day or two ahead of that. It was a Friday. I went home, found out that school was not going to be back in on Monday.
So yeah, it kind of all happened about the same time, but it was about a week before we were to purchase the property.
Yep, deciding to close.
So with the thought that the state and everything was shutting down and Steve wouldn't be in school for a while, then we would pack up as much as we could fit in the camper, and as soon as we purchased the property, we would move on to the property. Little did we know how much fun that was going to be. One of our very first videos was probably the most fun.
Yeah.
Trying to get the camper on the property and getting stuck in deep mud.
and we've been spending a whole year now dealing with mud everywhere, and it's just part of what the property is. I think eventually we will have it, enough drain and enough swales and enough drainage ditches and enough so the water will run off and it'll be great. But the property's brand new and it hasn't ever been taken care of that way. You want to say hello, Isaiah?
Hi.
So once we got ourselves actually on the property and situated, then the fun really began. Then you got a bunch of toys and...
Well, like 5 days into it, we ran out of water in the camper, and she said, "Steve, what are we going to do now?" And so I put a pump in the creek, and I'd already planned for it. She just she got there like a day before I was ready to put it in the creek, and she realized then how important water was to her.
I like water. It's fun to have water, and we currently still don't have running water. We keep saying any day, but at this point we've adjusted to life the way that we're living without water. So
let's get things straight. We had running water for a long time. We had running water from basically April of last year all the way until mid-January this year. And then we hit that deep freeze. Was it January or February? In February. And even through the winter, the water we were pumping out of the creek was still working. It hadn't froze down to where we had the inlet in the creek. And then we hit the minus 26 for 5 days, and everything froze. The drain line froze, for our gray water, for our sinks and stuff, and the water inlet froze to the pump, and so we haven't had any running water since early February.
Yeah, since the polar vortex came through. So, but we've adjusted fine. I mean, we're dealing with it fine.
Let's go back because we have a lot of new subscribers, and so our original plan was to purchase the property and go back home and then come back for the summer with our camper then, and just basically camp here for the summer. Obviously off grid. But
yeah, we were just only planning. Our plan was to be here when you weren't in school. So mid-May, end of May to about the end of July, beginning of August maybe.
Yeah.
And then, we'd go back, to our home away from home, and you'd be back in school. Little did we know that you would still not be back in session as of today.
Not back in person, yeah.
Back in person. So
we were only planning on spending, time off here, summer for me as a teacher, or vacations or holidays. And as we spent the summer here and we began to develop it, and we put in a driveway and got a lot of the weeds and grass knocked down and made places for things to be. And then we realized that my school wasn't going to go back in person, and so we just kept staying here. And I think we've done what we had to along the way to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've had to adjust, some comforts, I guess, to, make that happen. But yeah, it's been, I mean, I still can't believe it's been a year, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it has gone really fast. To me, it has.
So one of our ultimate goals here was to remain off-grid and to be self-sustainable or self-sufficient in terms of energy. Obviously, at this point, we can't do that in terms of our vehicles and the tractor. It's just too much energy to try and do that. And I mean, I don't have an electric tractor, but for the last month, for all the month of February and for half of March now, we've been running on solar, for all of our needs now. We haven't had to start the generator in a month and a half. We haven't had to, well, that was the only other thing. We haven't used any propane. We were relying heavily on propane to get through, the spring, summer, and fall in our camper. But now we have the wood cook stove. And so with that and the solar panels we have and the new batteries, we haven't had to run the generator as far as our day-to-day needs. And we have a refrigerator and we have lights and then some entertainment, TV for the boys and a DVD player and, game systems and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the new batteries have been working really well. I was just thinking today, we kind of just enjoyed our day and didn't even really think about the energy. I mean, we ran a lot of different things today, and the thought hit me, is like, wow, I think with the new batteries, we haven't had to think about how much we should cut back or how much we're using. So
and I think
that's been nice.
I charged the car for like 5 hours today, I think, too. So we might have almost enough to get to church and back tomorrow just on what we put in it from solar.
So that's been really nice. Kind of a relief.
It's nice to know that we've gotten that far already, and that as we go forward, we can plan to do things that are going to keep us in that self-sufficient area as far as knowing what we can do with what we have. And if we want more of this, if we want to use more energy, we have to get more solar panels or a bigger system or batteries, whatever goes with it. But to be at a place already where we're able to live a level of sufficiency or luxury that we're comfortable with the energy we have, and not to know that we don't have to go on grid now. We're just not going to have to. I think we're comfortable with I mean, if all of our systems were working like the water is the big one. If the water pump was running, we'd be quite comfortable.
Yeah, and so I think the only thing we haven't tested yet or been able to test is the washer. Whether how that's going to work and what how that's going to work on the system, but
I think that'll be.
I think it'll be fine because everything else has been working fine. So, but that is the only thing that we haven't been able to test because we don't have water. So.
And we won't ever have a drying machine for clothes. We'll always hang them, whether it's inside in the winter or outside in the rest of the year.
And I've done that on grid and off grid either way. So a dryer is no. I mean, I'm not missing a dryer.
The
at
amount
all.
of energy that's wasted on a dryer that you could just hang inside and let the heat from the house dry it is pretty ridiculous, actually. So let's talk about big future plans, and let's talk about the next couple months future plans.
Okay.
So big future plans is we would like to eventually build a house here. We don't intend to live in the A-frame cabin for the rest of our lives. We are viewing this property as what they would say our forever home or our forever property, and we'd like to have a nice house here. And I have some ideas on what type of house I'd like that to be, and I'm still mulling those ideas over in my head. And I probably have a good couple years before we really get serious about that. For now, we would like to put our house out here in this clearing, and it has been a really wet area the entire time we've known of the property. So all the way back to December when we first walked the property a year and a half ago, the whole time up until today, this area over here has been wet to the point where it's very difficult to even drive my tractor over here. And I've gotten stuck at one point where the tractor couldn't get itself out. I had to go get a come along to pull it just a little bit to get it out. So I think it's going to take this whole next couple months into the summer and maybe in the fall, depending on whether or not we're here, to get this area leveled and cleared and see if the water run off the top, and then see if we have to add any drainage trenches or ditches or corrugated pipe just in the ground, like French drains or whatever, just to run the water off. But so that's one of the goals long term, is to put a house over here, and eventually that'll be part of the channel. And I mean, I don't think we're going to build another A-frame for that, but we are going to build something really interesting. I just don't want to commit to saying what that's going to be yet. I have some ideas, and that's a long-term plan, is to eventually be here with a nice house built that meets our needs and that we don't have any other debt, so that we could potentially just live here. And, make some money as homesteaders, and not have to have other jobs. So that's one of the goals long term, is to eventually be here with a nice house built that meets our needs and that we don't have any other debt, so that we could potentially just live here and make some money as homesteaders, and not have to have other jobs. So that's one of the goals long term, is to eventually be here with a nice house built that meets our needs and that we don't have any other debts, so that we could potentially just live here So that's the long-term plan.
Yeah, we're not against another A-frame. We really like the A-frame. We like how it functions, and you know, we now know we could probably build that pretty easily.
Well, and that's definitely
So-
just a temporary housing structure over there. It was intended. It was originally built as a shed, simply to cover my tractor through the months that we weren't going to be on the property, and we just realized that. I think God gave me the idea to turn it into a cabin so we could stay here, and I just really quickly changed it over to a cabin, and so it's not. It's really just. It's everything's really rough built. It's not.
I mean, those that have commented on the channel have recognized a few things that maybe should have been done better, but it's kept us warm, and it's kept us, out of the weather, and it's served its purpose for what we need now.
More or less, I built that cabin in 2 months worth of work. It was about a month to erect it as a shed with a roof, and then another month to convert it to a cabin. That's pretty fast for that size cabin, and I'm not a construction worker. I've remodeled a house before, our house, and I've done some of this stuff, but I'm not. I'm good enough to get it done, I guess.
Well, and at the time that you were putting the shed together, it was just a structure to cover the tractor. It didn't have to be anything fancy.
Yeah.
Or, it didn't really have to necessarily,
that structurally.
It didn't have to be grand,
Yeah.
And so when we got to the point where we wanted to, change it to a cabin, we weren't going to go backwards and undo things, and so
we only
had to,
undid what we had to, which was just to take the battens off so that we could have a
Yeah.
flat roof to put the tar paper on, and then to cover it with the foam.
But we just didn't. We knew we were kind of out of time to, kind of do it all over again.
Yeah, well, and there would have been no need. For what it is,
So-
it's been great. We've already been in the cabin then almost 6 months now. It's over 5 months, so it's almost been 6 months that we've been in the cabin. So we've wintered in the cabin, and we know a few things that we want to do to it to make it to winter, nicer for next year, just in case we are here, or whenever we do eventually spend, another winter here. There's a few things we want to get done to it to make it winter a little nicer, and I still have to finish the kitchen so we have a functioning kitchen, and beyond that though, there's not a whole lot. Okay, so I guess things that we need to do to the cabin that are probably going to happen now within the next 6 months. So this will be our next season. That's why we're doing a couch time here. We're starting a new season because we finished wintering in the cabin, so it's time to start a new chapter in our life. Things that need to happen in the cabin are the kitchen, the floors. We're gonna put another layer of wood on the floors to make them a little bit more even and level, and so that they're more secure. And then we're going to put on the roof. And
Put tin on the roof.
Put tin on the roof, Yep. And put the siding on the outside of it.
Yeah,
So that
on
all
the
pink
end
board,
walls.
So all the pink board is covered up.
Yeah, so we'll no longer have a pink cabin, which, I've kind of grown. It's kind of grown on me, but it'll be nice to have it complete. So.
And all the wood in that cabin was cut down from trees right here on the property, all except for just a few boards I think we used for the bunk beds, because our neighbor gave us some boards and we were just trying to use them up. But I milled all the boards, so we haven't purchased a single board to build that cabin, which now is a great thing. It would have been fine purchasing when we first started building it because wood was still kind of cheap then. Now it would be cost prohibitive to buy that much wood just for a cabin.
Yeah.
That would have totally blown the budget for what we could do.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so beyond finishing the cabin, things that are coming up that we'd like to get to if it works out. I need to finish getting the electrical systems done for charging my hybrid car. I'd like to have it so it's automatic, where I just plug the car in, and then when there's enough energy in the batteries and the solar panels, it'll automatically start charging. So I've purchased an item for that, and I'll be making a video about that soon. And that's also getting the system set up then, because I would like to move the systems down closer to the cabin and build a shop down there. I guess I would call it a bermed shop. It's going to be, built into the hill down there that the boys have been sledding on all winter. And we'll probably also dig it in far enough to have a cellar in there as well. So the cellar will be surrounded on 3 sides, and then it'll just be behind the shop, and the shop will be, bermed into the hill, and then have dirt on top of it as well. And it may not even have doors on the one side for now. It might just be like a lean-to, but that it's covered, and that it's a place to put all my tools, and have a place that would be out of the wind and out of the weather to work.
And out of my cabin.
Yeah, because it'll be a lot of storage then for all my tools. And potentially, we could even buy we could buy a utility trailer just to lock up all this stuff, but still keep it in there. Certainly, that's where I'd park my car and have it charged, because I'd move all the batteries down there from the powerhouse by the solar panels and have everything secured down there. And then the cellar would be really nice for keeping all the vegetables from our garden that we want to keep that way through the winter this year.
Yeah, as long as we can get a garden to grow this year. Last year, we tried. We really did. I mean, we're not gardeners. We did our best. We still at the time were really learning the lay of the land. I think maybe it was a really wet year, but I think maybe we just some of the things we tried just didn't really work well. So hopefully this year we'll have something grow.
Well, and I think that's why we're choosing a different location.
Yeah, I think the more we think about it, we'll probably use the new location that Steve's been slowly tilling. We may still use the other area for other things, but I think our main focus will be on that new area, I think, because it's drying out really nicely. It's not sopping wet like the other area is. So
that's the other thing that's in our near future here, is we're going to keep working on the garden as it thaws out and dries out enough to work it. And then once we're past the last possible freeze date, typically for this area, we'll get planting that. So that'll definitely be coming up. And then we're also going to be working on putting a driveway through kind of the forest to get to the cabin. We've been driving across up there by the solar panels, between the camper and the solar panels, and whenever it rains or snows and melts, it gets really muddy, and so then we can't drive the vehicles through there anymore and risk getting them stuck or making deep ruts. So then we leave them up here closer to where the driveway is finished. And so we want to work on getting a driveway through the woods, which I have to cut down a few trees and dig up some stumps, and then we may put some gravel on that, or we may wait just to see what's going to happen. One other thing we're looking at doing, and we just haven't decided on yet because of some other things that are going on and the fact that it might keep us stuck here a little bit more, is we'd like to get some chickens. And so we're at this point, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with my work for the rest of this school year. If it gets to the point where they're saying that we're not going to come back in person, then we may go ahead and get some chickens, and that might be fun to do some videos on as well.
Yeah, the boys are excited about that, but they do understand that we might have to wait just a little bit longer on those. And so I think, chickens are definitely in our future. We're just not sure that this season is when we will get them, but they'll be coming. So we're all excited to have them, but we got to do it at the right time. We understand the big responsibility, and we want to do it right. We don't want to lose too many of them in the first go. So we're trying to figure out the best time to do that, but it's definitely in the future.
I guess one more thing that I know we're going to have to do, we have to put in a few more culverts. We have some drainage ways coming down, to the creek over here on the other side of the property, and another one back over there on the other side of the cabin where we want to get across the creek. And so I have to put in at least 2 more culverts, one to get to the garden and one to get to the other side of the creek to get some wood. So that'll be coming up here within the next month. It'll thaw out enough for me to get the backhoe in there and dig that out. I've already bought the culvert, but we'll show that when we get that far.
A lot of projects that you're itching to get at, but it's just too.
This is a rough time of year for me.
Too wet, and a lot of it still is too frozen to get really anything started. So I know
it's nice enough for me to want to be outside.
It's nice and warm
but
out.
It's still, the ground's still too hard for me to do any things that I like to do, which is dig in the dirt. And so
use the tractor.
So I've been. I don't know if we've got too much video that we're over here in the clearing, and I've already rototilled this whole clearing almost twice. Just on the lowest setting for the rototiller, I'm just trying to beat up the lumps and the vegetation so that it will dry out.
Would you say the vegetation was probably as tall as I am?
Yeah, the vegetation was at least as tall as Patience last summer. Towards the end of the summer, it had grown up at least as tall as Patience, and so that was keeping any of the water from evaporating. And then with how clayey how much the soil is clay here, and how much there's divots and pockmarks and stuff, the water just doesn't flow off when it rains, and so it just sits. And then it's even kind of turned into a little bit of a bog where the roots have grown on top, and then it kind of, the grass lays down and the new grass grows up through it, and so it's almost made kind of like a layer of vegetation, kind of soilish. It would be compost that's sitting on top of a layer of water, and so when you drive on with a tractor, you sink through that first layer and then through to the muck on the bottom, and you get stuck really easy. So I'm going to try and rototill it all in this year as I can, and see if I can't get the dirt down below the water and the water on top to either run off or to dry out.
Yeah, lot of landscaping this year.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's one reason why we're not rushing to start the house, is because
Correct.
we want to pick the perfect spot. And right now, a lot of the spots that we feel are right are very wet, and so we need to figure out why they're wet and whether or not we
make
can
sure
deal
we can
with
take
that.
care of that.
And if
yeah.
we can't, then we need to make sure we have the right spots. So
Yeah.
a lot of tractor work, this year, this summer, and garden.
And depending on what we can do with the property, if it is too wet, it changes what type of house we want to build here too. So
yeah.
Lots of things. So let's talk about the winter, the last season. What was the most challenging thing for you living in the cabin through the winter?
Would you count not having any water as part of winter?
Okay.
Or is that
we
like
get
at
it.
the
You
end
need
of
water.
winter?
Okay. Besides the water lines freezing.
I don't really think there was a difficult part. I mean, maybe as it, during the winter when it's colder and we can't go outside, we're inside more. So you get a little bit cabin fever, I guess. Becomes a real thing when you actually, excuse me, have a cabin. But
it wasn't too bad.
I can't think of a time that was really that difficult.
I think the most depressing thing that happened was the water freezing up. The drain first that we realized, and then the water line probably froze at the same time. We just didn't realize it till a couple days later. I think that was the most disappointing thing.
I think that was disappointing. I mean, we didn't even, when we put that in, we weren't even sure at that time that we were even going to be here this long.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much every kind of step of the way, we've never really known for sure how long we're going to be here, because we didn't know when you were going to go back in person. And so the fact that we were still here in February, I mean, we were still kind of surprised. And, I mean, we didn't even realize that we were going to have to deal with that. So, but now that we've dealt with it, we can fix the issue. And, if we're in the cabin next winter, then
hopefully it's a little better.
It'll be a little bit better.
It was close this year. I think if we hadn't had that polar vortex, we would have been okay.
It would have been fine.
I think we would have been okay.
Yeah, if we hadn't had that deep freeze.
But we get that deep freeze polar vortex like once every 5 to 10 years. So it's going to happen again, most likely. We might as well try to prepare for it this time.
So that'll be another upcoming project, is to fix that drain line. For sure, the drain line, because we kind of busted it up trying to
we got to fix the drain line.
So,
and then I'm probably going to try and layer a little bit more insulation on top of the water inlet line from the creek, and maybe dig it a little deeper into the creek.
I guess too, if it's only frozen at the creek and the line is fine, then that we put it deep enough.
Yeah.
If the whole line is still frozen, then maybe you'll decide how to combat that once we know that too. But
so what was the thing that made the biggest difference for you in wintering in the cabin? Was there like one thing that like made a big difference? Like changed your outlook on it or made something way better?
Nothing that comes to mind. What about for you?
For me, it's when we when it finally snowed enough that we could pile the snow all the way around the base of the cabin, and it stopped the drafts. So we had been fighting the drafts, trying to put some spray foam in it, and just finding all of them, and we had been fighting that a little bit, and then as soon as it had snowed enough, I picked up some snow with the loader on the tractor and just dumped it all the way around, and the draft stopped almost instantly.
That was
immediately the draft stopped.
Yeah.
And then the cabin felt like it stayed warmer better, and I think simply because more of the heat was able to go down into the ground then instead of getting blown away.
Yeah.
And so that made a huge difference, and we're going to make sure we fill in around the cabin with dirt this summer before next winter, so that there are no drafts.
Yeah, because that it instantly helped. I mean, within the same day, we noticed it. I mean, obviously, like we said before, the cabin is not built to anything, high quality. So we definitely noticed drafts, and then it helped a lot to put that snow around. So, and then, once it melted, and we still had windy days,
we noticed the drafts come back.
Oh.
It wasn't very cold out, but we still kind of noticed the drafts, and it was like, oh yeah, we gotta do that.
We gotta take care of that. It reminded us.
You want to talk at all about rodents?
No.
It wasn't that bad.
No, we've had a couple, and we've caught a couple. It's not been bad. I think the ladybugs are actually more annoying.
The ladybugs are probably more of a nuisance than the rodents.
mice, because we've caught the mice. So, we had them, we caught them. But the ladybugs, last summer or fall, I guess, when the cabin only had tar paper on it, they found a home under that tar paper, and then we
between the layers.
Yep, and then we put the pink foam on, and we sealed the ladybugs in.
Well, because we put the pink foam on, and the ladybugs were already underneath there, and then we taped the pink foam the seams, so they're literally the only way for them to come out is into the cabin. So we've probably killed hundreds of them already. 10 a day each of us, basically.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they don't all just come out at once. It's like a few come out each day, a few come out each day, a few come out each day.
Yeah, that's all right though. We can kill them slowly, but the days when we really get the cabin heated up, then we get more coming out than other days. But I think that's that's really nothing. I mean, that's not really that big of a deal, but that is probably more annoying than the mice, I think. But
anything else you want to talk about?
Nothing that comes to mind.
Boys have been having a great time since it's gotten nice out again.
Yeah,
I mean they were loving sledding all winter long, but they're just playing. I mean, they're over climbing trees now. Now that I've gotten all the brush from over here on this side of the creek kind of beat down with the rototiller, we feel a lot more comfortable letting them run around over here with us. It was just so bumpy before, and so the grass came up to their heads even still after the winter, and then there's gonna be lots of bugs and ticks and all that grass if we let them run around in it. So it feels a lot better now that we've got it rototilled. I mean, we've spent quite a few hours over here now, actually, since I've got the grass and the weeds and the burdocks and everything all rototilled down.
Yeah. I can't think of anything else that that's up and coming, I guess.
Okay. Well, so this is going to be the start of a new season for us. This will be season 4. If you want to go back and watch our story, all of our seasons are in chronological. Why can't I say it? Chronological order. So if you want to go back and watch from the beginning, go back and watch season 1, and you'll be able to watch the first couple months that we're here and some of the things that led up to us getting here. And then season 2 would be us building the shed, because we thought at that point that'd be our first summer, and we thought we were going to keep the tractor in the shed. And then season 3 we just finished now would be us spending the winter in the cabin, and we're going to start season 4 now. And so if you want to go back and watch those videos in order, the best way to do it is probably to go look on the playlist. And if you click on the playlist, then you'll just be able to watch them all in order, so you can experience our journey as we experienced it.
Yeah, and I mean, I know some of the earlier videos aren't great production quality, but even at that time, we didn't know. I mean, we were just recording because, we wanted family to be able to see what we're doing. It was just kind of a crazy story, but so we didn't even really consider YouTube at that moment. But so we just wanted to document what we were doing. But even the boys love to go back and watch some of our earlier videos and remember what we went through and what we did and all those good things. So yeah, I encourage you to go back and catch a few of those early videos. They're very fun. But thanks to all our subscribers for watching, and we love the comments. They're fun. We have a few of our regulars, who you are, and it's fun to hear from you. Comment on our videos and know that people out there are watching and care about what we're doing, I guess. I mean, I don't
I think what we're doing is interesting, but I understand not everybody will.
You're an interesting guy, so that's why.
Thanks.
You're getting in the sun now.
Yeah.
Sun's peeking through now.
Feels good.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day out, but okay.
All right.
I think for tonight,
that's that.